Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the third Shelter Stories podcast. And today I'm joined by Will and Clement, who were there for our inaugural podcast. Hello, Will and Clement. How was your guys' day today been so far?
Mine was all right. Got a lot of work done.
Mhm.
Yeah, glad to be here right now.
And you,
I
Will?
got some good rest in. I went to the gym just now and I did some work and now I'm here.
Today we're going to be talking about what we did over the summer, our experiences with people experiencing homelessness during the last few months, and particularly what we did with our food distributions over the summer. Um, we ran multiple food distributions, either myself or with Will and Clement, led by Will and Clement. And we did them all in this area in Hong Kong called Sham Shui Po. So, do you guys want to tell us more about what I don't know what we saw over this past few months?
So we did this summer we did two distributions, one in June, one in August. We gave out 60 portions in June and 100 portions in our August distribution. And both times we went to Sam Soi Po, we saw a lot of um it was all the similar people. So I saw a lot of people that the same people in August and June. So a lot of them actually stay there for like pretty permanently. They're there for a long time. It's not just like they go there for a couple weeks and then move to another spot. They actually go there and settle there for a long amount of time. So I was actually able to recognize some people from over the months and over the distributions.
Yeah, as for me, I also did two distributions. Well, I think you did three because you did two with me and one without me. But one was during, I think, June, and then the other one was during July. And both times, there was, I think the first time it was raining, but the second time the Hong Kong government put up the red flag rain. So it was a lot more intense that time compared to the previous times we've done it. But yeah, between the two times I did recognize a lot of faces, and um, we made spaghetti bolognese both times. And yeah, it was yeah, as always, it was always an experience.
Yeah, and the third one that we did in August was, I'd say, a very successful one. We had a big group of volunteers. We had about 10 people for this one, and we prepared almost 100 meals of char siu fried rice, and we heard very good things about the meal we prepared from our friends in Shanghai Post. Yeah, that was a very successful food distribution. Um, I mean, last year we also did one in Team Sajai, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about we saw what differences we saw between these two areas, and I guess the demographics of the people that we met in both areas. Uh, what do you guys think about, I guess, this difference? Because obviously in TST you had people who, I mean, they were living in a very touristy area and would only really be out at night. Um, but most of them were, talkative, and um, whereas in some Samsung, you had people who most of them were either on drugs, or you can see all the needles everywhere. So it's definitely a very different environment, different, I guess, like sight you'd see. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that, like the first time in Sim I'd say it was definitely like a wider array of like kinds of people. Like not only have just like the elderly like local people who can no longer afford the housing prices. There's also like immigrants that came to Hong Kong for to like find better opportunities but ended up homeless. Like I remember meeting this guy named Ian from Malawi, and he was staying like in a McDonald's just because it was like his second week in Hong Kong. I think he came here for work, and he wasn't able to find like housing that he could afford. So it was like quite heartbreaking. And then, um, but in Sham Shui Po, in that area, um, it was pretty much like a almost like a village, like a homeless village of people at a park. Like they probably like all know each other. They've probably been living with each other for like quite a long time, and So we definitely saw like more like a communal living style in the Shamshui Park. I don't know, like what would you say, Will?
Um, the first big difference I feel like is the people in Simzajer are definitely more um easy. They're easier to talk to. They're willing to share their story more, and because they come from a wider range of backgrounds. Whereas in some Zerpo, all the homeless are locals. They're most of them were born and raised around that area and ended up. That's why they all end up in the same park, and we couldn't really talk to them because a lot of them were just on drugs and asleep. So half the time when we're distributing food to them, they don't even know we're giving food to them. We just kind of have to place it at the side of where they're asleep, and it's just there's like a different it's a different level to the homeless in Team Badger.
Yeah, and I also want to be careful about like the drugs part because um what we saw were like needles. You know, what those needles were like we can't be like too sure. Like could be like I don't know like insulin for their diabetes, but it could also be like heroin, right? So it's definitely like we had a harder time approaching like conversations and like in Shamshui Po. Definitely felt a bit more like animosity there, but yeah, I really took away like the community part of like that sort of homeless camp.
Yeah, and I think just a big concern, I guess, about the needles in Shamsher Pro is that I know there's probably a very good chance that these needles aren't very clean or very sanitary, and they're used by everyone many, many times. So that's obviously a concern because this could lead to pretty bad infections, and it might be hard to get proper health treatment in Samtse, which is historically in Hong Kong the poorest district of the 18. And I mean, in Shantou Po, the government recorded that there were about 424 street sleepers. So, I mean, this includes the park that we were visiting, which had about 100, more than 100. And I'm sure in other parts of Samseo there were quite a few others. Um, and I'm sure all of you guys remember the fact that even people who weren't living in the park, or I guess were considered as homeless, would still go up to us and ask us for a meal at dinner time. So they probably come back from work and just wanted a meal. What do you guys think about this? Because I mean, doesn't it kind of demonstrate that even though these people maybe did have a roof to live under, maybe did have a bed to sleep on, still didn't really feel safe in their shelter, maybe, or didn't really feel very comfortable with their environment? I mean, what do we think of the term home if you have someone who's got a roof? Like, does having a roof over your head mean that you have a home, or are there any other things that have to come into play for you to actually feel connection to this place to call it your home, if that makes any sense?
I mean, like I think that yeah, like we were approached by a lot of people like with like who like aren't homeless that really like needed food, right? Um, I think that really speaks to like the growing like inaffordability of like Hong Kong. That's like sort of compounding over like the past few years. Um, and I think a lot of that has to do with like the pandemic as well. So as to like your question, like what does a home mean? Like, I think that in the city, like it's gotten to the point where there's like so many people who are struggling to survive, like no matter if they have a roof over their head or not. So um I think that like the standard of what a home is like no longer really like important, as to say.
Yeah, I want to add on to that by saying when we did our second distribution, um, it was just Clement and I and two other people. We were at the Some Circle Park and we had a big bag of drinks. And then halfway through our distribution, around there were probably around 50, um, like 50 women. They just surrounded us, snatching for whatever food or drinks we had left in the bag, and they weren't it was really hard to keep control of all of them, even though none of them were actually homeless. They were just living in, they had homes, but their homes were not in such good conditions, and they still needed to fight for like food and drinks, even though they had a home. So even just because you have a home doesn't mean the life you live feels like it has a home.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite heartbreaking, honestly, because like on one hand, like you want to like give out food to the people who are who are living in the homeless camp and like literally can't like some are like too weak to like get up from their beds. So like we would just have to leave a portion of food outside their tents. Um, so like we really wanted to help those who like really need food or like really need help. But it was also like pretty hard to see like the pleas of the people who like have homes but are probably like really short on food because it was also like a red rain that day. So that was probably the reason why like they were probably all like starving because they weren't able to go out and like get their supply of food. Um, yeah, yeah, it was pretty hard to like be in that position of like wanting to help the ones most in need, but like the people who like the people who like have the homes are kind of the ones that that end up getting the food just because like we were pretty much like swarmed by like a mob of like just elderly women.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the economic situation or economic inequality situation in Hong Kong that you have so many people, not just homeless people, but even people who have jobs that are really struggling to cover either their rents or have enough money to pay for 3 meals a day and potentially cover their energy bills, like all these kinds of bills and healthcare and things like that. There's a lot of people who are like really on the edge and don't have enough money to cover their expenses per month. And I guess it's really shocking to think about how much of Hong Kong is really going through that. Um, and yeah, I mean, Hong Kong is one of the world's most unequal places in terms of wealth. And um, I don't know, what do you guys think about this situation in Hong Kong that seems to just be growing and growing?
Yeah,
I
so
think
I have some stats here. Um, so first, I want to explain. If you guys don't know what it is, it's a Gini coefficient. It's basically a number that measures income inequality. It goes from 0 to 1. 0 means that there's perfect equality and everyone has the same income, and 1 means perfect inequality, which means one person has like all the income and everyone else has nothing. So most countries they fall in between like zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.5 on the scale. However, Hong Kong's Gini coefficient is 0.6, which is actually extremely high, and it ranks Hong Kong as one of the most unequal places in the world, where the richest 10% of households make over 4 times more than the middle income household. And over the past 40 years, the top 1% of Hong Kong got richer while the bottom half lost income share. And on top of that, the expensive housing makes the gap feel like even worse, which results in all these, with all the homelessness. And to compare the inequality in Hong Kong to some cities in the U.S., like for example New York, which is just a couple hours away from me, the Gini coefficient is 0.5, which is still high. It's the highest in the U.S., but it's still lower than Hong Kong by 0.1. So Hong Kong's inequality is worse than any U.S. state.
yeah, I think Hong Kong's quite famous for like being an affordable and like having like really expensive housing markets, but like it's one thing to like hear about this and it's another thing to like go and see it for yourself. I mean, um, I think like one of the things I took away from just like doing all these food distributions is that like we don't like Hong Kong doesn't protect its like elderly enough because like it's you just you know like elderly like women or elderly men just like pushing like huge loads of like recyclables like up the street. Like it's a pretty common sight in Hong Kong and like pretty much all the pretty much like probably like 99% of the like homeless population in Hong Kong is like of the elderly people. So I think that just says that like Hong Kong does not have a good enough like welfare system that sort of ensures like stability after like retirement or uh like having like benefits or like healthcare for the elderly. Um, and I think that yeah, that's something that we would definitely like to see in like in the sort of long run. Even though like Hong Kong has like a lot of like different issues to handle right now, and which can make this hard. I think that like what if we get our like economy sorted, if we if we sort of like I don't know like use like our unused land to like reduce the housing price. I think we should prioritize the elderly of Hong Kong first.
Yeah, just following on that point that you made a comment about the elderly people. I mean, in Hong Kong on the surface, right, when you look at how many homeless people there are walking through the streets, how many homeless people you see, I'd say it's much lower than what you'd see in a city like New York or LA, where the situation is definitely a lot worse, right? But
Mm.
I guess they don't really factor into account the living conditions for so many people in Hong Kong. I mean, a lot of them live in these like subdivided flats or live in these coffin homes or like the cage homes, which, I mean, maybe like according to the statistics, they wouldn't be called homeless. But I'd say living in that kind of condition where you're literally living in a cage, um, it's pretty much on par with sleeping on the streets in terms of living condition. I mean, it's very, very tragic the situation that they have there. And just some more context about the just how unaffordable Hong Kong is in terms of housing. I mean, between 2004 and 2021, the real home price index in Hong Kong rose to 239%, while the real wages only grew by 7.1% in that period. So, I mean, that's just a crazy difference between uh, rising wages and rising house prices. So, no wonder why people can't afford to, even afford their rents or sustain a living. But the good thing is that the Hong Kong government does have objectives to build 430,000 new housing units, of which 301,000 are public housing or subsidized housing. So this will be a lot more favorable towards um, low and very low income households. And I guess definitely, like Clement was talking about, improve the welfare system in Hong Kong and make sure everyone has a comfortable and safe place to live in. Because I think a big problem with the Hong Kong public housing system is that the wait times are very, very long to actually get in public housing. And I mean, I saw this when I interned at a like a transitional housing scheme last year, where it basically provided a 2-year service for people to move in while they were waiting to move into public housing. So this was definitely a very, very good initiative and good scheme to help provide people with I guess like a home and place to stay while the slow government services sort themselves out and get these people into places that they need. And in terms of the real estate situation in Hong Kong or house prices, um, I guess it's a problem that's been deep rooted for a while because of how these big four property families in Hong Kong really control the whole market, and this really causes these steep house prices that, in fairness, don't actually really need to be that expensive.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done long term, like with housing and with the economy in Hong Kong. And I think in the short term, like in the meantime, while Hong Kong finds a solution to that, I think it's important that like the people who can afford to like step up and help out the situation. Like it's important that they step up. It's important that we build more shelters and offer more sort of like resources for the homeless to have like a more comfortable life. Because even though it's more important that we focus on the long-term solution, like I think something that everyone can do um is sort of give a helping hand like where you can. And we do our part by doing all these food distributions. I think that I'm really proud of how we started as a three-man team and sort of expanded to like a big group. So I think that it's important that we encourage like a culture of this kind of like of this like sort of helping out the homelessness and like giving out a hand like wherever you can.
Yeah. I think it also roots down into education, making sure that young people especially understand this deep-rooted situation like very, very well. Because I mean, people in our generation will be future policymakers and working in the government and things like that. So if we all have a strong understanding of the situation and especially the root causes behind all this, then we'll be a lot better prepared in the future to go tackle this and really make a change and get these people into an environment where they feel safe and comfortable, which is what I think everyone deserves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll wrap our podcast up right there for our third podcast. And yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for joining, of course, and everyone should stay tuned for the next edition.
Yep. It was nice. It was nice to do this today. Appreciate it.